The Modern Warfare 2 hype train has been very weird. Most fans are very excited since the original was a huge success, whilst a smaller but more vocal portion of the community are remaining really skeptical after they felt burned by the 2019 release. Despite this, one infamous person, the leaker Ralph, has been the most excited person on the planet, with pretty much every leak or coverage coming from him seemingly being overwhelmingly positive. Because of this, it came to everyone's surprise when he posted an article the other week backtracking and flipping the script, urging fans to temper their excitement. Posting an article to whatifgaming.com that I'll have linked to down in this video's description that reads, Modern Warfare 2, should fans be worried? Modern Warfare 2 has quickly become one of this year's most anticipated AAA titles. Everything seems to indicate a successful launch, despite nobody taking notice of the straw in the wind. Let's take a peek behind the curtain, looking at the people pushing and powering this blockbuster for what most would consider Call of Duty's ultimatum, as a lot is depending on this game. After all of the recent Activision controversy and people not being excited for Vanguard, Call of Duty's high attrition rate has cost the company over the past year, although turnovers are common at the studio. Several long-tenured leads, seniors and directors at Infinity Ward have resigned in protest against working conditions and pay discrepancies. To make up for the lost talent, a high influx of employees were hired at an associate level and others with no prior experience in the industry. According to Ralph, an associate went on to state it felt like there was a bit of an old guard, a kind of clique-driven environment where you respected what the seniors wanted. It left a lot of new hires feeling disregarded and lost. Ralph went on to say over the past year he's held several discussions with former employees dedicated to the development of Modern Warfare 2, with apparently one high-profile contact stating, I love the team at Infinity Ward, but I do hate how they manage people. They like to use and abuse people, lots of talented individuals, a part of the team, and several departments will be breaking up after Modern Warfare 2 has shipped, so keep that in mind. It should be a big year for Infinity Ward, but after this next title, I don't see Call of Duty doing well in general. I think this is something really interesting to note, and it's something that we've seen throughout the gaming industry, even in the games where they have much better working conditions. It does seem like the general company format is very all over the place, and I think we saw it with the original Modern Warfare 2019. A lot of fans, even the players who really liked that game, wanted to see changes, but it seems like a lot of the developers, such as Joe Seacott, were too stubborn and too stuck in their ways, and they weren't open to change, even though small little tweaks to Modern Warfare 2019 could have made it 10 times better, as they had really solid general foundations in place. It does seem like the lower down people in the studios seem to be doing the brunt of the work, but they have little control over how these games are actually made, and often the majority of the developers at a studio may want a bunch of changes that might be really positive for the game, but the small number of the higher ups just want things in a certain way, or potentially Activision want things in a certain way, and those changes unfortunately don't get made, despite the fact that there are large discrepancies in pay anyways. Now before we go further, I have a really awesome sponsor to showcase in this video, which is Yahaha Studio, which is a brand new user-generated creation platform for 3D multiplayer interactive experiences and games. With Yahaha, anyone can create and publish their virtual experiences without any coding or server knowledge. You can become a developer yourself and maybe create your own COD Zombie styled game. Users can build their creations without coding, just using the components and smart assets that they provide. There's a built-in asset library with millions of ready-to-use 3D assets. All assets are not stored in the download package, but in the cloud drive, and they will be real-time streamed to the local client when users need to use them. It's very easy to use. When you finish your work, you can easily publish your creation with just one click, which publishes the content across Yahaha's cross-platform player app for mobile and PC users, where players can discover and join to play. Here's a showcase of the May community event winner so you can see the types of creations you can concoct. If this sounds exciting to you and you want to put your creativity in action, click the link below and join Yahaha's early access now, and you can even participate in the community challenge for a chance to win a cash prize. Ralph's article went on to state Infinity Ward have adopted a planning to crunch policy. It's a deliberate part of the development process that exhausts both high-profile and lower-ranking employees alike. Now dedicated to supplying a AAA experience between single-player, multiplayer, co-op, and battle royale, with pressure for doubling down on the success of Modern Warfare 2019 and delivering a flawless product. Again, this is an industry-wide issue right now with the crunch culture, and I do think that fans are partially to blame too. Obviously, we are really demanding as games have improved over the the years, our attention spans have become a lot shorter and we expect higher and higher quality, but I guess that's just human nature. But it does mean that we are wanting Call of Duty to constantly release stuff non-stop. Call of Duty pump out a brand new game every single year, and this crunch culture has been causing the developers to feel absolutely burnt out, and they're really not being justified with the pay. They're working overtime way too much, they're sleeping at the studios, like we've had prior reports of that happening at Treyarch. And it's good that Call of Duty 2024 Treyarch's next game has apparently been delayed by an entire year, but whether that means crunch culture is going to be reduced is still uncertain, because Treyarch are still working on other projects. They're still helping with Modern Warfare 2, apparently working on the ranked play in that game, which is going to release sometime after launch, and it's going to be pretty much identical to Vanguard's ranked play, and they're also helping with some sort of free-to-play title apparently slated for 2023. So we'll have to wait and see how much this gap year for Treyarch actually helps them, but developers at Treyarch have apparently been saying that they're really pleased about this delay, so hopefully now that Microsoft are purchasing Activision, this crunch culture ramps down a bit. I do think they should just be expanding with more and more developers so that the crunch isn't as intense. Of course, that can create too many cooks in one kitchen, but the thing is, at the end of the day, like I was saying earlier, the majority of the developers don't actually make any decisions. They're just following orders from a very minute percentage of higher-ups. So even if they expanded massively the amount of developers, it would still just be a small amount of higher-ups controlling all of the decisions, but the people actually implementing them, doing the animations, models, graphics, etc. will just be increased, but they're still just listening to the higher-ups, if that makes any sense. Ralph went on to say, it begs the question, was Modern Warfare 2019 Call of Duty's Achilles heel? Modern Warfare arguably brought about leading innovation to the series, a quality that seems lacking. However, does that leave behind unattainable standards for future titles? That is a good point to make, because Modern Warfare 2019 made massive strides in the right direction. Call of Duty had a big overhaul to the engine, the gunplay is unlike anything we've ever seen before, it had the best graphical step up, they adapted the engine for much larger player counts, which allowed for Warzone, they brought over free DLC, they got rid of supply drops, having a battle pass, with only cosmetic items being available for purchase. And the thing is, with Modern Warfare 2, they're not going to be able to make as drastic changes, and what it's going to mean is this game's probably just going to feel like DLC for Modern Warfare 2019. Yes, it might have changed a lot of things, and I think that's fine. I just don't think it's going to be as innovative as Modern Warfare 2019. Even though I wasn't a huge fan of that game, it was really innovative and it did move the Call of Duty forward massively in the right direction. I don't think this game is going to do that, but I think Modern Warfare 2 is going to be a much more refined version of Modern Warfare 2019 that's going to cater to a lot more fans. And I do think some people who didn't like the original will like this game, and hopefully they learn from some of the mistakes they made with the original. Ralph went on to say, with 3 different studios developing their idea of a Call of Duty game each year, it leaves people divided, a player base with different wants, needs, and asks. And this is a very good point. Everyone wants something different, and the developers just don't know who to listen to, and Treyarch and Infinity Ward make slightly different styled Call of Duty experiences, with a lot of fans favouring either one, the more arcade style of Treyarch games or the more realistic style of Infinity Ward games. Call of Duty fans want the game catered to them specifically. Modern Warfare 2 will not please everybody, of course that's impossible anyways. It could be the best game in the world, some people are still not going to like it, but does that excuse lie in the game or the players? And I guess it's a bit of both. The majority of fans did like Modern Warfare 2019, it's the best selling Call of Duty, but I think most of the people who have been playing the franchise for year after year after year didn't really like the game. Most YouTubers didn't really like it, even those who are big fans of Warzone didn't really like the base Modern Warfare multiplayer. And we saw a divide between the overall Call of Duty community seemed to like it, and a lot of casual fans came back for Modern Warfare 2019, whilst a lot of the YouTubers and esports players hated it. Call of Duty as a formula has a ceiling. FPS games are boundless, you can only do so much with the formula before there's no room left to expand or innovate before it starts feeling less like Call of Duty. It's difficult for developers trying to strike that balance between traditionalists and progressives for a title like Modern Warfare 2, taking on the moniker COD 2.0, as apparently COD's going to be moving to this subscription type service model where all the games are going to boot from the menu via a Call of Duty hub. But Ralph makes a good point. Of course, Call of Duty have tried innovating in the past with the advanced movement, but most people didn't really like it. But then if they end up just staying to the formula, people will get bored of boots on the ground again. So it's really hard for COD to strike that balance because, like you said, the ceiling is really, really low. Call of Duty can only do so much before it becomes too much unlike Call of Duty. How much can they innovate without changing the core COD formula? formula that's worked so well for so many years. But at the same time, it has just gotten so repetitive. Every game seems to have the exact same tropes. I guess what Call of Duty are trying to do now is they're trying to go for bigger experiences, which Call of Duty hasn't done in the past. In the process, it seems like they're eventually going to be saying goodbye to 6v6 multiplayer. Of course, now we have Warzone with larger player counts. We're going to be having DMZ, which is again going to be a larger player count on a bigger map. Even with zombies, they're moving to bigger maps with Outbreak. It seems like that's the way of them innovating. They're still keeping that COD formula, they're just moving to a bigger experience because they've pretty much done everything they possibly can with 6v6 multiplayer. There's no real room for innovation. What can they possibly do that's different from before? Nothing really in 6v6. Ralph said, 2 cents worth. Whether leaks have exasperated the excitement from Modern Warfare 2 is an entirely separate discussion in itself, though fans should temper expectations and wait to make judgments for themselves once they get to play the beta. I find this statement from Ralph and this article in general to be of the utmost intrigue because it seems to be an admission of guilt. Ralph seems to be saying, well, maybe I have overhyped some things. Well, maybe I've gotten some things incorrect and it's led to confusion. And back in the day when I used to leak myself, I found myself doing the same thing. Often I would get reports of something that would excite me and I would be so excited I would just hype everyone up, but then it turns out that whoever was giving me that information was a bit misinformed, or they were over exaggerating how good it is, or plans just ended up falling through. Maybe they had this really big thing planned but they didn't get to execute it, and then it turns out that fans got disappointed because they heard the leaks and it turns out they just got overhyped. Now, I never did this intentionally, it was purely a fault of mine, but now that I'm no longer in the leaking scene and I'm able to watch the other leakers fall for the exact same things, I'm able to get a different view and reflect on my past actions, and in hindsight I would have done things differently. But following on from Ralph's article, the other leaker, Tom Henderson, who has been in constant scraps with Ralph previously, there was even a time when Tom exposed his source and then he temporarily deleted his account but then said he was hacked. That was a very weird situation. Well, anyways, following on from this, Tom posted an article contradicting Ralph's prior claim that DMZ would launch free-to-play in Q1 of 2021, and that it's apparently going to simply launch with the base Modern Warfare 2 title later this year. Again, this leads on to the thing with leakers accidentally hyping people up too much, because I don't think Ralph intentionally got us hyped up for a free-to-play DMZ, he just got misinformation. But now that we found out it's apparently not going to free-to-play, fans are disappointed, when if we never heard this rumor in the first place, there would have been nothing to be disappointed about. Tom's article reads, Modern Warfare 2 is set to kickstart Call of Duty 2.0 and will bring a new era to Call of Duty, although this continues to be the messaging that Activision and its studios continue to convey. Recent rumors surrounding the title have caused frustration among those associated with its development. Concerns of rumors setting false expectations are rampant, with several sources expressing frustration following claims that Modern Warfare 2's DMZ mode is a title that will release in 2023 and be free to play. And this is exactly what I was saying earlier. When I used to do leaks, I never meant to cause issues for the developers, but that did happen from time to time, and it happens with every other leaker too. Sources with knowledge of the DMZ have refuted such claims, saying that the DMZ will launch later this year with Modern Warfare 2, with one source saying it's just another mode. Recent rumblings of the DMZ appear to have been exaggerated, with the current plan being to build the DMZ and its features over time, rather than it being something as hardcore as Escape from Tarkov. Of course, the DMZ will have some similarities to Escape from Tarkov, with both modes being extraction based, but it's understood that the decision to evolve the mode over the course of time is a conscious one, rather than the mode being incomplete. Tom says that the DMZ map is going to be pretty much the same map as Warzone 2 in some capacity, although the future of DMZ could become free to play. That's currently not the plan. Instead, DMZ will be tied to Modern Warfare 2 as another mode, so maybe it could go free to play but after launch. Tom then mentioned that there is another 2023 free to play COD game coming, which is codenamed Project Nexus, which is apparently going to be some sort of building game, but Tom says that he's heard nothing about it, so we'll have to wait and see what that even is. Anyways, in the aftermath of Tom's article, a back and forth debate started on Twitter amongst the leakers. Ralph stated, I made no reference to the DMZ being a title, nor it being Scryer's reported 2023's free-to-play title. He's always mentioned it being a mode that'll be branded alongside Warzone 2. As with anything Tom's refuted of mine, take it with a grain of salt. Adding to this, the DMZ is still slated for a 2023 release. If you genuinely believe in the 2-year space Infinity Ward has with their content timeline, that they'll stuff all their offerings in Q4 2022, I don't know what to tell you. Just wait for things to develop, we are still far out. A user called Irish then replied to him saying, yes, but you and Tom are contradicting each other, so one of you is wrong, to which Ralph said, Tom has contradicted my report several times, all of which ended up coming out as true. I just don't like to wear that out because what's the point? Ralph then said, regarding Project Nexus, it was the first time me and Tom were sourced from the same person. Me and a few others were outright lied to about Nexus, to which another leaker slash data miner Reality said he's right, to which the other leaker Hope said he's right and provided proof of this with a screenshot of messages. So it seems like either a source has just been incorrect or they've been intentionally spreading misinformation. I do wonder if Activision have been sending out sources to leakers to purposefully spread misinformation to cause distrust and cause all of the leakers to have slightly different information and fight amongst themselves. Tom replied to this saying Nexus isn't DMZ, it's an entirely different thing. That's why it's important to corroborate before reporting, even if the info comes from the original source. That's why I didn't report on it even though we all find out about it at the exact same time. Hope stated this source shouldn't be getting info wrong anyways, lol, let's be honest with each other and say they clearly lied. Tom said sources get info wrong for a lot of different reasons, whether that be because they made assumptions, they have limited info, they purposely had ill intentions, etc. They told me that Nexus was the DMZ too, but I asked around and corroborated that it wasn't. And this is exactly what I was saying earlier. Leaks and rumors are just too much to keep up with and are always so contradictory nowadays. And now that I'm not directly involved in the leak scene anymore, I can see why some have decided to completely distance themselves from them altogether. Also, it does end up spoiling stuff and ruins excitement, but then I do see how leaks do create hype too. The problem with leaks though is there's so much contradictory information all of the time. Stuff ends up being incorrect so often that I kind of feel like what's even the point in paying attention to this stuff? And that's why you need to take it with a grain of salt. Not just a grain, so much salt, because honestly, who knows what ends up being true in the end. Even if the leakers didn't have ill intentions and they didn't do it intentionally, so much can go wrong behind the scenes so easily. And this goes exactly back to what Ralph was saying earlier. This is part of the reason why I quit the leak scene. I just didn't want to deal with the stress of accidentally getting stuff wrong and then people accusing me of lying when I was always just a middleman, just reporting what I was being told. I never intentionally meant to lie and I never intentionally meant to cause issues for the developers. I didn't want to spoil anything that they were creating. I just wanted to hype up their games and create interest for fans and give them something to excited and talk about. But I made mistakes along the way. I just never meant to, and there is times when I wish I further corroborated things with multiple sources. Sometimes one source would just tell me something and I would jump the gun and just immediately report on it without doing enough research. But yeah, Ralph has been backtracking quite a bit and I do find it quite weird how back in the day Ralph was posting quotes from apparent Infinity Ward developers explaining why leak culture is bad and harmful, but at the same time he was simultaneously leaking, I'd assume, from the same people that was giving him these quotes. So I never really understood that. It made no sense to me. Ralph clearly has correct sources, but then he's also getting a lot of misinformation, but he's getting a lot true too, so I don't really understand what's going on there, and I don't understand why he's talking about leak culture being bad whilst also leaking. It's really weird. Just never made much sense to me. And yeah, overall, leaks are just too much hassle to deal with, and like I said, I never wanted to cause issues with the developers. Obviously, I also ran into copyright issues. That was part of the reason I quit, but this was also part of the reason too. I still now just cover the leaks from other people, but I always say to take it with a grain of salt, and I'm just never the person directly giving you those leaks anymore. Instead, I let other people do it. It does mean that I think ever since I've quit, the leaks have not been as accurate. Of course, I still got things wrong, but it seems to be happening a lot more often, and there seems to be a lot more confusion nowadays. But honestly, I feel like a lot of the sources that were giving me information have just gone off to these people now, and they're instead giving them information. I always used to say if I wasn't leaking back in the day, they would have just gone to someone else. These people were developers who wanted to hype up the game, or QA testers. I was just the easiest person to reach out to. If they couldn't find me, they would have found someone else. The leaks would have gotten out there anyways, so I wasn't really the main person to blame, since I wasn't the one breaking NDAs, and they would have gone to someone else anyways for this information to get out. Just a quick reminder that this video has been kindly sponsored by Yahaha, that you can check out in this video's description, where you can build your own games very easily without any coding or game development knowledge. Definitely something to get into. Anyways, thank you for watching the video, and make sure to subscribe if you're not here for the latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.